Have you ever wondered why the moment you finally give someone your heart, they suddenly start acting like you don't matter? Why the more you show up, the more they pull away, yet the men who stay calm, unbothered, and unmoved somehow become the ones women chase? It's strange, isn't it? How a woman can feel more drawn to the man who doesn't need her than the one who would do anything for her. But there's a reason for this. A psychological pull hidden deep beneath her emotions, something she feels before she even understands it. And once you learn it, you'll never see relationships the same way again. So sit with me for a moment, because what you're about to hear may change how you love, how you think, and how you respond forever. If you're watching this, comment your location and hit subscribe for more powerful content. When we talk about independence creating emotional gravity, we're not just talking about a man who acts tough or pretends he doesn't care. We're talking about something deeper, something a woman feels long before she ever tries to explain it. It's the presence of a man who stands on his own 2 feet emotionally, a man who has built himself from the inside out, his confidence, his values, his purpose. When he enters a room, he doesn't need to dominate it. He simply exists in it with a kind of grounded certainty. And without even trying, that certainty becomes magnetic. Women don't fall for men who cling to them. They fall for men who can stay whole without them. Because emotional independence signals something essential: stability. It tells her, this man is not here to drain me. He's not here to make me responsible for his moods, his happiness, or his identity. In a world where many people seek relationships as a way to fill emotional gaps, meeting someone who doesn't need you to complete them feels refreshing. It feels safe. It feels mature. That kind of man isn't running behind her, asking where she is every second. He isn't shaken when she pulls back slightly. He isn't threatened by her world, her successes, or her independence. His sense of self isn't built on whether she texts first or how quickly she replies. And that internal calmness changes the way she behaves around him. Instead of feeling pressured, overwhelmed, or responsible for his emotions, she feels free. And ironically, that freedom pulls her closer. Think about it. People are drawn to what feels rare. Emotional independence is rare. A man who is happy within himself is rare. A man who chases purpose more than he chases validation is rare. And anything rare becomes valuable. So without trying to impress her, he impresses her. Without trying to win her, he stands out. Without trying to hold her, she feels held. This doesn't mean he's cold or detached. It means he gives love from a place of fullness, not desperation. He can care deeply without collapsing into neediness. He can offer attention without losing his priorities. He can be present without being dependent. And that balance creates a kind of emotional gravity that pulls her in naturally, almost subconsciously. She senses that he respects himself, and because of that, respecting him becomes effortless. A man who doesn't need her also communicates silently that he knows how to walk away if things become unhealthy, not as a threat, but as a boundary. And boundaries create value. They show her that he chooses her, not because he needs her, but because he wants her. And that distinction alone transforms the entire dynamic. Women are intuitive. They feel authenticity long before they analyze it. When they meet a man who is rooted in himself, they can relax, they can soften, they can trust. Because they know they're standing with someone who isn't depending on them to save him emotionally. And sometimes that's all a woman really wants, a man who chooses her from his strength, not from his emptiness. So if there's one thing to take from this, it's simple: build yourself, center yourself, and walk into relationships with a full heart, not a hungry one. Attraction grows where independence lives. And the moment you realize that, everything about the way you love will change. When we talk about intrigue, we're really talking about the natural curiosity that comes from meeting someone who is fully engaged with their own life. Not someone who is playing games or withholding affection on purpose. That's manipulation, and women can sense it immediately. I'm talking about the kind of unpredictability that grows from genuine self-prioritization. A man who has a full life doesn't need to invent mystery. His life creates it for him. His interests, his goals, his challenges, his discipline. All of these become part of the energy he carries. And that energy makes him someone worth discovering. Women are naturally drawn to depth. They are drawn to layers. They are drawn to someone who has more going on beneath the surface than what he shows at first glance. When a man is too available, too predictable, too eager to accommodate her every need, the dynamic collapses into emotional flatness. There's nothing to explore. But when a man has things he cares about, his work, his purpose, his personal growth, he becomes someone she cannot fully decode in one sitting. And that unknown keeps her invested. Think of it like a book. If the entire story is revealed in the first chapter, you lose interest. But when each chapter reveals something new, something meaningful, something unexpected, you keep reading. Intrigue works the same way. A man with emotional independence and a rich inner life doesn't reveal everything at once, not because he's hiding, but because he's genuinely occupied with becoming a better version of himself. And she feels that. She senses that she's entering the orbit of a man who is going somewhere in life. What this does psychologically is create a subtle pull. Women don't chase men for their looks or their charm alone. They chase the feeling they get around him. If he radiates purpose, she feels inspired. If he moves with direction, she feels secure. If he gives his time intentionally instead of constantly, she feels chosen. That contrast between availability and self-focus becomes emotionally stimulating. It sends a message his life is full, and if he's giving you a piece of it, it's because you matter. But the most powerful element of intrigue is this: he is not driven by her reactions. His mood doesn't swing depending on whether she texts back instantly or takes her time. He doesn't crumble if she pulls away slightly. He doesn't abandon his priorities to keep her close. His emotional world is not anchored in her behavior, and that creates an irresistible calmness. Women lean toward men who remain consistent within themselves because consistency creates trust and trust fuels desire. The truth is, a man becomes intriguing when his life speaks louder than his words. When he's moving forward, learning, evolving, becoming someone even he can be proud of, he becomes emotionally engaging without trying. And that's the kind of attraction that doesn't fade. So here's the thought to walk away with: don't aim to be mysterious, aim to be meaningful. A man who is becoming something will always be worth chasing. When we talk about boundaries, we're talking about something far more powerful than rules or restrictions. Boundaries are a reflection of self-respect. They show how a man values his time, his peace, and his emotional space. And when a man doesn't need a woman to define his worth, his boundaries naturally become stronger. He doesn't tolerate inconsistency. He doesn't entertain disrespect. And he doesn't allow his life to be destabilized just to keep someone close. That quiet firmness creates a sense of security that women instinctively respond to. Women are drawn to men who have structure, men who know what they want, what they stand for, and what they will not accept. Because when a man lacks boundaries, it sends a signal that he is willing to sacrifice himself just to be chosen. And no matter how much a woman says she wants a giving man, she loses respect for the man who gives at the expense of his own identity. Boundaries are not walls, they are the shape of a man's character. When a man clearly communicates his limits through his actions, not his words, she feels something shift. She realizes he is not afraid to walk away from situations that drain him. He is not controlled by fear of losing her. He understands that protecting his emotional health matters more than keeping the peace. That strength speaks louder than anything he could say. It signals emotional stability, and stability is something women crave more than charm, looks, or money. Boundaries also create clarity. When a man honors his own standards, he teaches her how to treat him. He teaches her what is acceptable, what is appreciated, and what will never be entertained. And most women don't resist these boundaries. They relax into them, because they know they are dealing with someone who is strong enough to lead himself first before trying to lead anyone else. The irony is that the men who fear losing her are often the ones who lose her fastest. The men who stand firm, who stay grounded, who know their worth, even in silence, are the ones she trusts emotionally. She knows she cannot sway him with drama. She cannot manipulate him with distance. He sees through patterns and responds with calmness rather than chaos. And that emotional clarity becomes deeply attractive. A man who doesn't need her but chooses her becomes rare in her eyes. Rare because he has options. Rare because he has self-control. Rare because he would rather lose the wrong woman than lose himself. And that rarity creates the very commitment, respect, and loyalty so many men chase but never receive. So if you take anything from this, let it be this. A boundary is not a barrier to connection. It is the foundation of it. Build your boundaries from self-worth, not fear. Because a man who knows how to protect his peace becomes the man she never wants to lose.